One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart of steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar. Insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. A metal mayhem that will never die. With engines roaring, he paves his way. A legend in the making, day by day.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful Monday morning. Let's get it. As you guys can see from the title here, Iran strikes halted, as well as Venezuela death toll climbs regarding the double back-to-back earthquakes that happened over there. And then, of course, we have SCOTUS Watch. We have just breaking, actually, some SCOTUS rulings, and we're going to be discussing that towards the end, I believe. We have a lot to discuss. There was a lot of shit that happened since Friday, since we last discussed, world news, geopolitics, strikes, all that kind of stuff. So we do have a lot to catch up on. So let me give you guys first the chronological breakdown of what we're going to be talking about, what we're going to be presenting this morning, and then we'll get into the rest of the madness. So I'm actually going to show you a step-by-step breakdown from a YouTube channel that I actually have been following for a couple of years now. And I use them for step-by-step analysis of how strikes are happening or anything on a military front. And they came out with a very, very good video explaining how the one-way drone that just attacked that ship in the Strait of Hormuz and how we retaliated. It kind of puts it all into one video. So that's what we're going to be looking at to start the morning off, how to control the Strait of Hormuz, U.S. versus Iran strikes. And then we're going to be, we have a lot of things to discuss this morning, actually. We've got like 14 different stories that we're going to present this morning, so we're going to be going through them real quick as much as we can. Regarding that Palisades fire, remember there is that guy that they claimed he was the one that did it, allegedly. Well, it says Palisades fire mistrial. 10 jurors said suspect was not guilty. I'm not sure what evidence was presented for the jury to say that, but we're going to go ahead and find that out. And then we have CENTCOM releases video of U.S. strikes on Iran. That's when we retaliated back and hit 10 of their locations over there, 10 different objectives that they were, 10 different things that they were trying to hit, and they did take out. Then regarding those strikes, Iran strikes second vessel in Strait of Hormuz after U.S. retaliation strikes. And also they were so Iran also retaliated on top of that. And instead of going after like one of our battleships or one of our equipment right there in the strait, what they ended up doing was they attacked Bahrain, they attacked Kuwait. So they're going after our bases over there. Anyways, regards to that Venezuela earthquake, it says on this one, it says at least 1,430 people killed, tens of thousands still missing. Now, the tens of thousands still missing, I heard it can be up to 40,000 people that are missing right now. When we last talked about it, it was 25,000 people on Friday. Now we're looking at, numbers all the way up to 40,000. And that's just insane. So sad, man. 1,430 people already have been confirmed to lose their life on that. That's just terrible. And then we have just a day ago, this was breaking a day ago. U.S. launches new strikes on Iran. And then we have Hormuz fighting continues with attacks on Bahrain, regards to that oil tanker in the Strait. And then we have Iran attacks neighbors following U.S. strikes, and how I just told you guys that they were attacking Bahrain and Kuwait, stuff like that. And then we have skydiving plane crash, 11 dead in Francetown. What? A skydiving plane crashed in northeastern France on Sunday, killing all 11 people on board the region's. Well, I guess that's what they said over there. So that's terribly sad as well. Now, here's the latest numbers. Okay, this is what this is claiming. I haven't heard this number yet. Like I said, it's been numbers up to 40,000 that I've heard about missing in Venezuela. But right now, what Live Now from Fox is claiming is Venezuela earthquakes, nearly 70,000 people missing as death toll rises. Man, that's just insane amount of people, man. That's an insane amount of people. And then we have 3 major Trump rulings due as Supreme Court term nears its end. And yes, we do have some rulings that are just coming out this morning. And then U.S. and Iran agreed to halt strikes. We'll meet Tuesday in Qatar. Now, this is coming out just 4 hours ago. So at least you guys can see. I actually put it on the thumbnail if you guys can see this real quick. Strikes halted. Yes, that's exactly why I made this thumbnail. I don't know why I'm lagging, by the way. It'll fix up here in a second, the camera. I think it's because I have so many tabs open. All right, let's see what else we have here. We have deadly alligator attack in Seminole County, Florida. I don't know how to say it. Is it Seminole County? Seminole County? Whatever, Florida. A woman has died after she has been bitten by an alligator on Sunday. Damn, bro. Are you serious? What the fuck? And so that's just coming out minutes ago, by the way. And then we have nearly 1,500 dead in Venezuela earthquakes just as of 2 hours ago. So they're giving us updates on these numbers here. All right, before we get into the breakdown of how this whole thing started over the weekend, let's go ahead and do our call to actions real quick. We'll do our housekeeping, and then we'll get right into the madness. Make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. I very much appreciate it, and it's free to do so. Hitting that subscribe button is also free. It's what we do Monday through Friday, and of course, we have members only on Saturday morning, man. Speaking of members only, please consider becoming a member, starting only at $2.99 a month, making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody. But check it out. This is what allows us to be on these airwaves as well as have these lights on. So thank you guys for becoming members and staying members. Little side note here, follow my Instagram at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time breaking news, as well as politics, all that great shit. It's a great way to get a hold of me one-on-one. And we have a Discord server for all of you legends. Make sure you guys go in the video description down below. That is where the invite link is. And last but not least, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, all going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, you know what I'm saying? We have these platforms that are scrolling around the screen. At any time, you can donate to those, and I get 100% of the proceeds. And, of course, we'll read out loud anything that comes our way, just like a normal super chat. All right, good morning to everybody, man. Good morning. I always appreciate you guys and your engagement hanging out with us. We got Mr. Al Patterson to start off the morning before we'd even started dropping a gifted membership. My man, thank you very much for that. Goes a long freaking way. Let's see here. We got Easy Frank in the building. We got Panelverse as well. Good morning to you guys. We got Virginia Chaos, my man. Always appreciate you. Brother So Loud. Yes, sir. Good morning. Good morning. We got Vanguard Critters as well as KP, my man. We got Sick Bastard also with the raid from his morning show this morning. Always appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with us. We got Naomi in the building as well. We always appreciate you. We got Mr. Jack Tailcott. Yes, sir. We got Pitbull across the pond over there in the UK. We always appreciate you as well. Miss Lotus and STMC Prez. Good morning. Good morning. Texas Gidget. Always appreciate you. Let's see. We got Charlie Rose as well as Miss Lotus. Always thank you guys for hanging with us. All right, let's go ahead and pretty much get right into it. Yeah, see, exactly. You're going to have to spell it out that way for me to get anywhere close. And that's still too complex for me, so I'm not even going to try. 5150 Boomer, what's up? We got Steve Easy in the building as well. Good morning. Good morning. All right, let's go ahead and get into this madness. We're going to do a first thing that we're going to be presenting is the breakdown of how this whole strikes happened and started and why, right? And have the breakdown. Remember, we were talking about that ship that got hit on Friday when we were talking about it was outbound and it got hit on the starboard side. And that would mean that the side that got hit would theoretically be facing Oman and not facing Iran. So that was something that was just an interesting observation. Now let's go ahead and bring up why a lot of this stuff happened, and we'll get right into it.
So, what route are cargo ships actually supposed to follow?
Right. Now, that's a great question. As you guys can see, the blue line, this blue line, it signifies what the United States and Oman have like agreed to for safe passage. This is the passage. That's the actual line that the United States has to go by, and the world has to go by theoretically, right? Well, Iran is saying absolutely not. If you go in this shipping lane right here, and we will react to that. So they want, first of all, Iran wants that red line to be the main shipping route. And anytime anything moves, according to Iran, they want a 48-hour heads up notice, basically a screening, and then approval. So that's what they want for all the ships.
Well, that's the ultimate dilemma. Right now, commercial captains are caught between two completely conflicting sets of orders. On one side, you have the United Nations and the Western allies telling ships to use a newly established southern evacuation corridor, a path that
What's up, Pumper? Good morning, by the way.
Safely hugs the coastlines of the UAE and Oman. The other side, you have Iran-Tehran demands that all maritime traffic travel strictly through their designated northern choke points. The IRGC has made it absolute. They should use the Tehran-approved transit lanes or don't sail at all. They've issued a blunt warning.
And that's exactly what happened on Friday.
To the entire shipping industry. Any vessel caught taking alternative routes, especially that UN corridor down near Oman, will be stripped of its safety guarantee and treated as an active target. Which brings us to the ever-lovely. Why did this
And that's the ship that got hit.
massive container ship end up in Iran crosshairs? Because her captain took a gamble. The ship was deliberately hugging the southern Omani shoreline, trying to use the UN safe path.
And right where you guys see up here at the tip, that's where it actually got hit, where the actual strike happened from that one-way drone. Now, there was 4 or 5 one-way drones that were headed to them, to the ship. And one of our destroyers was actually taking down some of the drones at the same time. Shot them down, and then one made it and connected to that ship on the bridge. Well, it's close to the bridge anyways. It actually hit one of the cargo bays, and it went into 3 different containers. Luckily, it didn't happen to hit all their chemicals and all that was in the bay just forward of that. So because that would have caused a humongous explosion. But luckily, it didn't hit any of that. It hit dry goods or whatever.
To slip out of the Gulf. But to Iran, bypassing their checkpoints wasn't just a detour. It was a direct challenge to their sovereignty over the strait. Tehran
What's up, No? Good morning.
decided to make an example of them. And that is where all hell broke loose.
Pablo, still alive. Good to hear.
It is 2:14 a.m. local time. Ever Lovely is cutting through the pitch-black waters of the southern Strait of Hormuz at 18
What's up, Carney? Good morning to you as well.
Her running lights dimmed to a crawl to hide her massive silhouette,
Of course,
against the Omani coast.
That's with AIS off, all their tracking systems, all of that. And yes, there are times that when ships are trying to move quietly, they turn off all their lights, turn off their AIS systems, and try to move in the darkness of the night.
40 miles to the north, tucked into the jagged
What's up, Johnny Reno? Good morning.
coastal cliffs near the Iranian port of Surik, the pneumatic launch racks of an IRGC mobile battery tilt skyward. In rapid succession, 4 solid...
Oh, and it's his birthday? Shit. Happy birthday, Carney, man. That's awesome. Good morning to you, by the way. We got Hardwire as well saying, watching live from Hardwire's camper. W, bro. Good morning.
State rocket boosters detonate. 4 Shaheed 136 loitering munitions are hurled into the night sky. Once airborne, the boosters detach and tumble away into the brush. In their place, the drone's rear-mounted 2-stroke engine sputtered to life. It's an unmistakable high-pitched butt.
Now, also, the reports on Friday were that the drones that were used in this attack, and I actually made the claim, or I reported that the claim was that the drones were actually Indian drones, like from India, but they were not. These are Shaheds. This is what Iran produces, actually. So, anyways.
Sounding like a terrifying swarm of airborne lawnmowers, echoing out across the black water. Cruising just 100 feet above the waves to hide beneath the radar horizon, the 4 Delta Wing munitions lock onto the shipping lane's GPS coordinates, spreading out at roughly 100 knots. 12 miles west of the cargo ship, a patrolling U.S. coalition guided...
Hell yeah, Steve. I definitely agree with that. We got Tiffany as well. Good morning to you. Good morning. Always appreciate it.
Missile destroyer picks up 4 faint surface skimming anomalies on its X-band radar. The ship's automated combat system instantly tags the low-profile contacts as incoming one-way attack.
Now, this is one of our destroyers taking out these drones.
And the electronic warfare suite...
Not all of them. One made it through, but...
It strikes first, flooding the local airwaves with high-frequency jamming. The lead Shahed goes blind.
That's right, Motobomb. By the way, good morning. And make sure you guys get the likes up. And if you're on the vertical side, hit double tap that screen for us. We always appreciate it.
Loses its link and violently spirals into the sea 3 miles short of the shipping lane. Seconds later, the destroyer goes kinetic. It unleashes a pair of rolling airframe missiles at the coming drones, which are a couple miles from the destroyer. For close-quarter combat, its 20mm full-length opens fires at a blistering rate of up to 4,500 rounds per minute, with wall of tungsten armor-piercing rounds flying into the dark. 2 brilliant orange fireballs illuminate the horizon as the second and third drones are shredded to pieces in midair. But the 4th drone, what naval radar operators call a leaker, slips straight through the defensive net.
And this is going to explain a little bit why the IRGC ended up hitting them from the starboard side. This is going to explain that.
Because the Shahed relies on a primitive, unjammable backup navigation system. It doesn't need a live satellite feed to find a target as massive as in one.
What's up, Pops? My man, good morning. He says Mountain Woman is home. That's phenomenal news, by the way. We have been busy getting this challenge in check. She is using a walker, just got her ready for the morning. Her breakfast is next. Miss my best news channel, my man. Good morning, and that is great news. Thank you for the update, brother. Hopefully all is well.
100-foot container ship. 2 miles out, the drone's optical sensor catches the towering outline of the ever-lovely stacked containers against the night sky. The drone pitches its nose down. The engine screams as gravity accelerates the 440-pound airframe into a terminal dive, hitting nearly 115 knots as it bears down on the ship's starboard side.
Now, as you guys notice, what it does is it hits the starboard side of the ship, and it doesn't. Now, originally they were saying the claims when all this was breaking on Friday that this all happened and it struck the bridge. Now, the reason why people were thinking that is because once this explosion happens, goes into these 3 containers, and then it blows. And once it blows, it actually shattered the bridge's windows up there. And so it does look like they got hit in the actual bridge, but they actually got hit in the containers.
On the bridge, collision alarms shriek. The captain orders a hard port rudder to swing the ship's stern out of the impact zone. But a 140,000-ton steel giant doesn't dance. The Shahed slams violently into the upper container stacks. The kinetic impact punches right through the outer steel of 3 stacked 40-foot shipping bays. A millisecond later, the internal contact fuse triggers an 88-pound high-explosive warhead. The blast wave instantly vaporizes the drone, shearing through the surrounding container frames and sending a massive rolling fireball 150 feet into the air.
Damn.
The shockwave shatters the starboard bridge windows, showering the crew in tempered glass as automated seawater deluge systems blast the burning deck in thick white foam. Deep below in the engine room, the massive marine diesels never miss a beat. Damage control teams sweeping the deck report 0 casualties by pure luck. The drone hit a buffer zone of dry goods instead of volatile.
Now, there's the petrochemicals. As you guys can see, the dry goods was what got hit, okay? But if those petrochemicals in the bay just behind the bridge, if those would have been struck, well, I don't know if that ship would be in service anymore.
Petrochemicals. Limping, scared, but structurally sound, the Ever Lovely maintained her 18-knot sprint toward the open Arabian Sea.
Right. So as they got hit, they didn't stop. The ship didn't stop. They were like, full speed ahead. Let's fucking go. Let's get out of here. You know, kind of thing.
But how does the U.S. solve this Iranian swarm drone attack? Well, to pull off a mission like this, the U.S. relies on mixed force of carrier-based aircraft and guided missile destroyers.
The Hornet and one of our UAV drones.
When radar screens in the U.S. command centers lights up with deadly one-way attack.
Hell yeah, Tiffany. Thank you for making it rain in the chat. Always appreciate you.
Drones were flying in fast, tracking straight toward a ship. The military will have to launch a counterattack immediately. But how do you permanently stop these drone swarms from attacking? They had to trace the attack back to its source.
Now, what's interesting is how they actually track the source of where they were launched and how are they going to be able to actually get that intel of, okay, in the moment, how do we find out where the fuck that just came from? And they're about to break it down for you right here.
The port sea. This time, the weapon of choice was the Tomahawk cruise missile. Slammed
$1.3 million per or whatever
into the Iranian launch site, hitting it incredibly hard. But what was the Iranian response? Since they couldn't target the mobile U.S. warships out on the open water, they decided to strike U.S. allied bases all over.
They hit Kuwait, Bahrain,
the Middle East,
UAE.
In the dark night over the Persian Gulf, when 4 Iranian one-way attack drones are airborne, flying at low altitudes over the waves, hunting.
Now, this little piece of equipment right here is one of the big reasons why they are able to track where things get launched from. Pay attention.
Commercial shipping. But as the fleet tracked the skies, a far more critical countdown was happening on the ground.
Oh man, that's awesome, Pops. That's totally awesome. Nothing but love, honor, and respect.
Within a compound near the strategic port of Bandar Abbas, more drone was being fueled and prepped on its launch rail. It had less than 15 minutes until ignition. So how did U.S. Central Command track the swarm in the dark?
Good question.
And what precision weapon was used to obliterate the ground control station and drone launchers?
That would be a Tomahawk.
Before that 5th drone could ever leave the rail. For that, we have to look at part 2, the layered air defense in the aerial intercept. The moment the threat materialized, the U.S. military's layered defense net went live. When dealing with a swarm of low-altitude loitering munitions, these drones are mass-produced.
And those drones are flying underneath the normal suspected where radar will be able to pick it up and all that shit. See how the orange line is low and these green lines? That's supposed to signify like radar.
And designed to slip beneath standard radar coverage. While heavy land-based strike fighters like the F-15 provide massive firepower from regional bases, they do not operate from aircraft carriers. Instead, the immediate aerial response falls to the carrier strike.
The Super Hornet, and anytime that the Super Hornet is used, it's got backup. Okay, when we use the Super Hornet, it totally has security when it goes anywhere.
Grouped 4 deployed F-A-18 Super Hornets. Vectored in at high speed, the Super Hornets locked onto the incoming signatures. Using AIM-9X Sidewinder missiles, highly agile infrared tracking weapons, the fighters locked onto the heat signatures of the drone's small piston engines. Within minutes, the airborne drones were blasted out of the sky over open water. But shooting them...
Yeah, it's what they're averaging right now. It's about 30,000. So you're using some heavy munitions to take out a $30,000 drone, essentially.
Down is only half the battle. To guarantee success against a coordinated swarm, you have to cut the command cord entirely. The F-A-18 Super Hornets don't fly these missions alone. They have bodyguards. Trailing just behind the interceptors is an EA-18G Growler. Inside its rear cockpit, the electronic war...
And then you have a guy that's, like literally specifically, his whole job is jamming and doing shit with radar. And that's the guy in the back.
Warfare officer manages a multi-million-dollar electronic jamming suite. Attack drones rely heavily on pre-programmed GPS coordinates or active radio command links to adjust their...
So this is how they get the actual trace of, in real time, where did these get launched from?
Flight paths. The EWO's job is to break that link. They immediately isolate the precise encrypted data streams traveling between the drones and their launch site back on land. By blasting high-powered directional energy bands directly at the targets,
And then they basically, the U.S. military ends up pulling the data of where it was launched. Basically, the whole line showing exactly where it came
the
from.
Growler completely severs their connection. Blinded and deprived of their telemetry, the swarm's coordination instantly collapses. Get an easy lock and unleash.
What's up, Wildcard? Good morning to you, as well as Sterling Wheel from Tampa right now. He's a big trucker, so of course he's always in some different location. Good morning to you. Always
their
appreciate it.
M9X Sidewinder missiles. The pilot can also go old school, then switch to gun mode. From inside the cockpit, it becomes a game of pure skill. Just align the crosshairs, squeeze the trigger, and shred the remaining
Put the crosshair on their heads.
one-way attack drones right out of the sky. Speaking of targets, during recent travels to the...
We don't need that. All right, so that was to just show you guys how and what happened over there on Friday when we were discussing it. That's what happened right there. Now, before we get further into Iran, let me go ahead and bring it to national first, because we do everything chronologically here. That's just the way we roll. So first, before we get back into Iran and the strikes that have been going on over the weekend and all of that stuff leading up into current time, first, we got to get into other things. Now, one of the big things that we've been following, one of the stories is the Palisades fire. Remember when that whole thing was breaking? I mean, we were covering it as it was happening in real time. Now, the guy that they ended up finding, the suspect, the alleged suspect that started those fires, the guy that we've actually shown his image a couple of times on the show. Now, just 2 days ago, Palisades fire mistrial, 10 jurors said suspect was not guilty. Now, I'm wondering how they came to that conclusion. So let's go ahead and bring it up and figure that out together here.
Bring in former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani. He's here with me. Nima, are they going to retry this in front of a new jury? Is that really the only way this can go from here?
That's really the question that I had, to be honest.
Well, that's what U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley said, Austin. But look, I think it's a mistake. And I know Bill, I respect him. But when a jury comes back 2-10 in favor of acquittal, it's time to throw in the towel. It was always a tough case. And I think the DOJ did a valiant job. I think there is evidence that Rinder Knick caused the first Lockman fire in the early morning hours of January 1st. But to connect it to the devastating fires 6 days later, the January 7th Palisades and Malibu fire, was really a tough sell. And the jurors...
That was the original picture that we all had seen, saw, whatever.
Buying it. I mean, I was talking to Alexandra online.
Why they cut him off?
Guaranteed that the jurors are going to hang today. That's exactly what happened this morning. It was so bad that one of the jurors was actually crying in court, wanting to get out of there. So, being a prosecutor isn't about wins and losses. You got to take the jury verdict. Sometimes I know you disagree. And look, I've lost cases. I've won cases. Verdict means to speak the truth. Really, the people have...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no arguing that. Just want to figure out what happened.
And I'm really surprised that the 10 weren't able to convince the 2 to get an outright acquittal. But I'm not going to mince words. This is nothing less than a complete and total loss for the Department of Justice. I think it's time to move on. I think folks here in LA, they're blaming Mayor Karen Bass. They're blaming the LA Fire Department. They're blaming Mother Nature. I just don't think there's enough to get Rinder Knick convicted. 12 out of 12 jurors beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, that's very interesting nonetheless. Let's go ahead and see what it says here. Federal prosecutors say they'll retry the man accused of starting the 2025 Palisades wildfire in Los Angeles after a mistrial was declared. That coming out from the AP. Let's see if there's any other headlines that were, governmental officials saying anything. No. Okay. So we quickly just covered it. You guys know what's happening, at least on a small scale, regarding that. And then, of course, we're going to follow whatever happens if they retry them, whatever. Anyways. All right. So after this whole, now we got to kind of backtrack. We got to go back into regards to Iran. So CENTCOM released this video of the U.S. strikes in Iran. I believe this happened on Saturday. I want to say Saturday. But let me go ahead and bring this up and show you guys quickly just this CENTCOM video. of, I believe, their first response.
Now, here on Live Now from Fox, we are going to switch gears a little bit, continue our conversation on the Middle East, as we are getting new video from the U.S. Central Command of the U.S. strikes in Iran. Take a look here. The U.S. struck Iran today in response to a drone attack a day earlier on a cargo ship in the Strait of Hormuz. It's the most significant test yet to an interim understanding reached 1 week ago by the two countries to begin working to end their months-long war and reopen the pivotal waterway. This reporting here, according to the Associated Press. Now, President Donald Trump said the drone attack violated the ceasefire. The strikes came shortly after the president told reporters, quote, "You'll find out whether the U.S. would respond." Now, U.S. Central
Right. Trump basically made that comment. And of course, they're going to respond.
Command said the military struck missile and drone locations and coastal radar sites in Iran. Now, the head of Iranian Parliament at National Security Commission.
Well, it doesn't void the agreement, but it definitely breaks the agreement. And a lot of times you would think that a lot of these actions would now all of a sudden, now it voids the agreement completely. But it's interesting how that doesn't happen. It stays on a very, very fragile ceasefire because both, well, I would say the United States wants to go through with it. So it would be up to them to decide if it's voided completely, but it's not. Our latest update, now that, mind you, this happened on Saturday, right? Let me see what the latest update is on regards to all this. U.S. and Iran agreed to halt strikes. Will meet Tuesday in Qatar just 4 hours ago, just by the way. So I'm skipping ahead, just giving you a little heads up. The United States and Iran have agreed to halt strikes and will meet Tuesday in Qatar, Axios reports. The agreement comes after Iran struck military sites in Bahrain and Kuwait. It says, all right, so that's basically it. Anyways, back to this. Sorry.
Responded to the president on social media earlier today saying, quote, "The Strait of Hormuz is governed by Iran, so respect the rules." He adds, quote, "Not mistake control for escalation." Taking a look here, this is courtesy Marine Traffic. You're seeing a simulation of the Strait of Hormuz and some of that traffic within the critical waterway. We do want to continue our reporting on this, showing you now a social media post from Jennifer Griffin of Fox News saying new details about U.S. airstrikes targeting Iran tonight, according to a senior U.S. official. 4 targets were struck, 6 U.S. aircraft involved in the strikes. Targets were along the Iranian coast bordering the Strait of Hormuz in Keshem Island. Of course, that reporting there, according to Fox News' Jennifer Griffin. Let's show you that video once more here on Live Now from Fox.
Real quick. So when they say Keshem Island, let me show you exactly where they're even talking about, just so you guys know where we're looking at. Okay, let me go ahead and bring this up. Let's see if it will actually work here. Sorry. There we go. Okay, let's go over here. This is Keshem Island right here. The big island that's in the peak of the strait and closest to Iran, real close to their major port, Bandar Abbas. So that's the island that they were specifically talking about right there. All right, back to this. Hold on, let me see that final video here.
This is courtesy the U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, as the U.S. struck Iran to respond to a drone attack on that cargo ship in the strait just 1 day earlier. President Trump said attacking the ship violated the ceasefire, and the U.S. Central Command said the military struck missile and drone locations and coastal radar sites in Iran. Again, these strikes came shortly after the president told reporters, quote, "You'll find out whether the U.S. would respond to the drone attack." All right, here on Live Now from Fox, this is a situation we are continuing to monitor. We'll bring you any breaking details as we get those in.
Of course, that's what we're doing here right now. All right. Iran strikes second vessel in Strait of Hormuz after U.S. retaliation strikes. Now, and then after this, they ended up hitting more of our bases, I believe.
Back in here to Live Now from Fox. If you are just joining us, we're continuing to follow this breaking news as Iran launched a drone assault targeting Bahrain while a ship in the Strait of Hormuz separately came under attack today, likely to Iran's response to overnight airstrikes by the United States. Now, the attacks across the Persian Gulf raised some concerns about the Iran war continuing, even after Iran and the U.S. reached an interim deal to try and agree on a final accord to end the conflict. The U.S. had launched its airstrikes in response to an Iranian drone attack on a ship trying to get out of the strait on Thursday. I wanted to bring you some of this footage here, and this is from Central Command, along with this statement that read, U.S. Central Command forces conducted strikes against Iran June 26th as a powerful response to yesterday's attack on a commercial ship.
Man, I'll tell you what, Persian women are some dime pieces, man. I'm telling you.
That was transiting the Strait of Hormuz. I also wanted to put up the post here of that text. Now, U.S. aircraft struck Iranian missile and drone storage locations and coastal radar sites after Iran hit a container ship on June 25th with a one-way attack drone. The Singapore-flagged cargo ship was exiting the Strait of Hormuz along the Omani coast at the time of Iran's attack. We do have this live look courtesy of Marine Traffic of the Strait of Hormuz this morning. Now, meanwhile, today, a multinational maritime body overseen by the U.S. Navy said that it would expand a route near Oman in the strait to allow for both inbound and outbound traffic. Iran targeting Bahrain likely was not coincidental. The kingdom has been one of the strongest.
Nothing about these strikes are coincidental.
Critics of Iran and is home to the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet. And if you remember, it just hosted U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio for a meeting of the Gulf Cooperation Council's foreign ministers, which ended with a call for an end to Iran's attacks and the strait to be completely open. A statement from Bahrain's foreign ministry said a number of Iranian drones targeted the country. It called the attack a, quote, flagrant threat to the security of citizens and residents. Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard earlier today issuing a statement carried by the state-run IRNA news agency saying it had targeted several locations, quote, of the U.S. terrorist army in the region. It did not name what areas were targeted. Now, the U.S. Military Central Command said the military struck Iranian missile and drone locations and coastal radar sites in the overnight strikes. But I wanted to put up this post here from Vice President J.D. Vance, who has led the American negotiations with Iran, and he shared this to social media just last night that Iran should, quote, pick up the phone if there are disagreements about the ceasefire.
Now, I liked that, J.D. Vance said this a couple days ago, and I was like, yeah, he's spot on this. When he says if they have disagreements about how the MOU is being applied, they can pick up the phone. I think that's a great response, by the way.
Agreement, and he says, but violence will be met with violence. The U.S. and Iran are still negotiating terms of the deal, including issues such as getting ships through the Key Strait and addressing the future of Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium. Under the interim deal, the two sides have 60 days to work out the details.
Right. All right. So let's go ahead and bring it into now Venezuela. We have an update, one of the smaller updates, in-betweeners, I would call it. Because we have the latest update on this whole thing in Venezuela, but we do have some images here that I'd like to see and see if there's any other context that we can get out of it. Quickly, first, what we got to get the money part over with first.
All right, just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Now, that's actual factuals, ladies and gentlemen. Facts. Also, we got to snack on that big-ass sandwich.
Man, motherfuckers talk all the shit they want. But you see me, I'm sitting up here snacking on this big-ass sandwich, not getting a fuck. Kiss my dick, motherfucker.
Shit. It is what it is. All right, let's go ahead and bring this up and quickly get into this. It says, at least on this one, at least 1,430 people were killed and tens of thousands are still missing. Now, let me give you guys the actual updated numbers that were just coming out this morning. Is 1,500 are dead, and we're looking at, tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of fucking people missing, which is just terrible. Absolutely fucking just terrible. So let's go ahead and bring in.
Welcome back and alive now from Fox. I'm your host, Anna Marsick. We continue following the devastating earthquakes that happened in Venezuela this week. Take a look at this post coming from Reuters saying rescue teams and residents search for survivors in Venezuela as the death toll from the twin earthquakes surpassed 900, with hundreds believed to be trapped. That update came this morning, and the latest update coming into our newsroom right now, we're learning that more than 1,400 people have been killed. Thousands have been injured. There's still at least 68,000 people missing, and crews are just racing to find anybody still trapped beneath that rubble. International help continues to pour in, with more than 1,600 foreign rescue personnel now on the ground from dozens of countries. The United States has pledged $150 million in humanitarian assistance and deployed search and rescue teams. Governments and aid organizations from around the world, they're sending medical supplies, equipment. And
yeah, I really did hear that basically the whole world is getting involved in this, which is phenomenal. I mean, I'm I'm glad to see that.
Emergency relief to support this massive recovery effort. And as these emergency crews continue their work, scientists are learning more about what made these earthquakes just so unusual. What was first believed to be a foreshock, followed by a larger main earthquake, is actually now being classified as a rare earthquake doublet, which is 2 major earthquakes happening just seconds apart. So to help us break down what all of this means, we are joined by Harold Tobin.
Yeah, it wasn't like they had, you know, shock afterwards. The aftershock, it was a double earthquake.
Who is the director of the Pacific Northwest.
Now, I really don't need to hear from this guy, to be honest. Just going to be real. Let's see if there's any other governmental headlines from this. We do have some images here that I haven't seen yet. I do want to see some of these images. Holy fuck, man.
And so the
Look at
ends
this.
of that part of the fault are now maybe more stressed than they were before. That's plausible. So the whole region needs to remain vigilant that earthquakes are a fact of life, the fact of living on this planet. And probably they've seen the worst for the particular
Destruction, and they're only showing a little bit here. I'm going to be honest, man. I haven't seen that much destruction in a minute. It was terrible.
part of that fault system that had these vents, but that doesn't mean that the country as a whole or the region as a whole is not potentially in danger of further earthquakes.
And as the search and rescue efforts continue and many more people remain missing, what are emergency managers and engineers maybe watching most closely in the coming days following this disaster?
Yeah, well, there will be lots of analysis of any kind of.
We don't need to hear it. All right, let's move on because we have updated stuff anyways. But we got to get back into Iran. U.S. launches new strikes on Iran. This is when I think we targeted 10 of their different launchers and stuff like that. So let's go and figure out what happened.
We're getting breaking news out of the Middle East. Take a look. Fox News saying that the United States is conducting new strikes against Iran. The U.S. military confirming this, and we do have a statement in from a CENTCOM. Let's get to it. CENTCOM forces conducted additional strikes against multiple targets in Iran on the 27th at the commander-in-chief's direction. After yesterday's U.S. strikes in response to the Iranian attack on MV Everlovely, Iran was given a chance to honor the ceasefire agreement, but elected not to when its forces launched a one-way attack drone that hit MT Kiku this morning at 4:30 a.m. Eastern Time. The Panama-flagged tanker is transiting near the Strait of Hormuz.
So this is now the second tanker kind of back-to-back, like within a day apart.
With more than 2 million barrels of crude oil. It continues, saying CENTCOM forces launched strikes today in direct response to continued Iranian aggression against commercial shipping. U.S. military aircraft targeted Iranian military surveillance infrastructure, communication systems, air defense sites, drone storage facilities, and mine layer capabilities.
So those were the 10 different sites that we had hit.
Commercial vessel transits through the Strait of Hormuz continue. U.S. forces, they say, remain.
What's up, Brother Blake? Good morning to you. Hopefully you're enjoying your Monday morning so far. Definitely know that we are.
Lethal and ready. So that's just the latest in this back and forth that we've been seeing as of late with the U.S. military and the Iranian military. One of our big questions earlier today was, well, will the kinetic action continue in and around the Strait of Hormuz?
And you can bet your fucking ass. All right, let's go ahead and bring it up into our next thing here. Just a day ago, Hormuz fighting continues with attacks on Bahrain and a tanker, regarding that tanker over there. So anyways.
All right. Welcome back in Alive Now. I'm Austin Westfall. Well, we were wondering if Iran would strike again after the Iranians and the Americans traded attacks in and around the Strait of Hormuz yesterday. Well, today, Iran launched a drone assault targeting Bahrain. And
what's up, Joker? Good morning.
The ship in the Strait of Hormuz separately came under attack as well. Let's check in with national security analyst and the host of the Strap podcast, Hal Kemper. He's here with me. Okay, Hal.
An actual decent voice that can give us unbiased, objective facts.
We've been tracking everything that's been taking place.
Rare to find those type of people.
Over the last 24 hours, I'm going to ask you a similar question I asked you yesterday. Does what happened today in the Middle East, does it rise to the level where the Americans might feel like they have to respond to this?
Austin, I'm hoping that it'll throttle down. I'm hoping that, I don't think we're really anxious to start ramping up or escalating anything. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see a big response from the U.S. I'm not ruling it out, but I wouldn't be surprised if we just don't respond at all, or we respond in a way that's non-kinetic. There's a number of things we could do. For example, we're now allowing Iran to recoup its revenues from oil sales in dollars. We could turn that back off. So there's a lot of tools.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that we have done recent where they're theoretically allowed to sell their oil because we lifted the sanctions on them. First time in 48 years. Or not 48 years, actually 40 years in particular. 40 years.
So we could pull that are not necessarily tied to doing another strike.
What's up, Kerry? Good morning, my man. Hopefully you're enjoying the morning as well.
We might do a strike mission. One of the things you have to watch are the fast attack craft, the gunboats or fast boats, go fast boats that are out there. That's another thing that we're going to be looking at on the water. We may change the rules of engagement on that. So if we see them, we may just assume that they pose a threat. So there's a lot of different ways we could put pressure on the Iranians to basically stop doing this. But I should mention one thing.
Which is interesting. It's interesting that he did take that take where he goes, I wouldn't be necessarily, surprised if they don't respond at this point of the game. And it looks like that doesn't look like there was more strikes on this. It looks like, just as of this morning, U.S. and Iran agree to halt strikes. Will meet Tuesday in Qatar. So this is, I think, one of the last exchanges of fights within this weekend.
If you look at what they're targeting, they hit Bahrain. That's, of course, we have Fifth Fleet headquarters, but they're targeting ships that are on that southerly route, that basically goes right around Oman. They want all the ships to go way up north by Hormuz Island, where they could potentially, if they build it in eventually, they'll start imposing fees or tolls on those ships. They're a little bit concerned because that southerly route has been expanded to two-way traffic now, which means there's a lot more throughput, which means that Iran is kind of losing control. Despite all their rhetoric, they're kind of losing control over traffic going through the strait.
That's an interesting take.
And for those curious where Bahrain kind of stands in the wider picture of the Gulf area, this is what we're talking about, and this is where the latest strike happened. In addition, there was also a carrier that came under attack separately. This is a question that a lot of people were posing yesterday when this was happening, is why is there still a deal on the table if there is still kinetic action happening in and around Hormuz?
Well, we want to keep traffic at a fairly high clip going through the strait. We want to get that oil out.
Right. Doing one way, hey, one ship can go through and you have to shut down all the incoming traffic that's going in. And then you have outbound traffic where everything would be one way, one ship at a time kind of thing. And it being an international waterway, trust me, that's not sufficient for the global standard. I can tell you that. It's just going to take fucking forever if they were to do something like that. So they're forced. If you look at the strait right now, it is so fucking packed in there right now. Let me go ahead and show you guys the live AIS right now. Ship traffic. This is this morning right now. And, people that watch the Insane Wheels channel, they've already seen me break this down many, many of times, but you don't see normal traffic going through here. You see, one or two ships are like going through whatever, blah, blah, blah. But what it should be looking like is like this. This is what it should be looking like. Outbound and inbound, right? Well, look at this. It is just, we're talking 20,000 plus sailors out here stuck in this bullshit right now. 20,000 plus sailors from around the world. Yeah, so I feel terrible for those guys. I can't even imagine them having to like re-up their stores and stuff like that, because I don't think they're getting, food and stuff like that delivered to them out there at this time. So yeah, this is just misery.
We want to get the liquefied natural gas out. We want to get, obviously, things like helium and fertilizer that are produced in the Gulf out. Pattern going where there's a lot of traffic going through. And to do that, we have to have some sort of ceasefire in place. This has obviously ramped up or escalated the amount of risk involved. Certainly a number of shippers are taking that into consideration. I've already got indications that a number of ships that were going to transit the strait have decided not to transit the strait. And there's been a decrease in total traffic today, but they want to decrease it. They want to get to the point where not only will the traffic increase, but they can get other countries like Great Britain, Germany, Japan to potentially put in.
Speaking of, just this morning, right before we started the live stream, there was some sad breaking news that I haven't been able to gather for you guys for this morning yet. But in Germany, there was a mass shooting in northern Germany this morning for us. Local time, I guess. So it happened real recent. We're talking within the last hour, really. Or it being, a massive breaking thing happened about an hour and a half ago. So I believe 5 people were killed, unfortunately. There are people that are wounded as well, injured. And then there's the suspect. I forget the guy's name. And then there's a second one, and that I guess that first one is actually supposedly the shooter, allegedly. And then you have a second suspect that's also in custody, but we don't have the information on that person.
Minesweeping capabilities. Some of those, I understand the British are literally, and maybe the Germans are literally sitting outside of the Persian Gulf, ready to go in, and they can hit those 2 big lanes right in the middle, the internationally recognized lanes. Once those things are cleared, then you can see a dramatic and it's safe to transit.
Right. And so we know that, respectfully. We're going to go ahead and move on because we do have the latest update on that whole thing. U.S. and Iran agree to halt strikes. But first, what we do need to get through is I do want to see these set of strikes and see if this was after what we just saw, what we just reported right there. I want to see if there was a small amount of exchange going on or a big amount. We'll see. 3, 2, 1. Come on. There we go.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome in here on Live Now from Fox. The time is 7:57 if you're joining us over on the East Coast and 4:57 on the West Coast.
Cool, I don't care.
And live events from across the globe look over the Strait of Hormuz at this hour, and I do want to pop this up on your screen to give you a better look. Now, we continue to follow all of this.
Oh, yeah, we do have some more activity here. All right, so let me go ahead and scroll to it. First, I want to see this live image of something here. So those are siren sounds in Kuwait.
And of course, you can hear just some of the sounds there. Again, interceptions overhead, as well as those siren sounds.
Yes, and I did see those interceptions actually on social media as well.
Some video on social media. I want to pop that up on your screen here to give you a look, as you can see some of the strikes that are taking place by the U.S. on sites there in Iran. CENTCOM saying it shows U.S. military aircraft striking Iranian military, quote, surveillance infrastructure, communication systems, air defense sites, drone storage facilities, and mine layer capabilities following an Iranian attack on a merchant ship on Saturday. Now, the U.S. had resumed retaliatory strikes on Iran Friday, a day after an Iranian drone targeted and struck a ship off the coast of Oman. The U.S. calls it a clear violation of the Memorandum of Understanding signed about 2 weeks ago by Iran. And we know as all of this is playing out, there are questions about the future of that ceasefire, also known, of course, as a Memorandum of Understanding. President Trump posting this right here on Truth Social saying, quote, United States aircraft just struck Iranian missile and drone storage locations and coastal radar sites for violating the ceasefire agreement again. It is very possible.
Right. This was on Saturday. I did see this. And so this was in regards to the 10 things that they struck over there, 10 different locations. So we know those strikes happened, but I want to see if there was more strikes after that. That's truly what I want to see here. There's some sort of little report here. Iran launched missile and drone attacks against Bahrain and Kuwait following the U.S. strikes overnight. Yeah, so that's still referring to the ones that we were just talking about. So I want to see if there's any after that. Kuwait says its forces interrupted 2 Iranian ballistic missiles launched at its territory, causing no casualties or material damage. Yes, that's still into regards to that whole original strikes that we were just talking about. Is a true ceasefire between U.S. and Iran within reach? So people are doing a poll. Yeah, the answer would be no. I can't believe 7% of people think that it's actually within reach right now, or 6%. That's where it updated. Let's scroll ahead here. Oh, so the IDF has a report here.
As we talk about Israel, we continue to get these posts coming in from the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces. This one saying eliminated Mansour Sami Mahmoud Shataut, commander of Hamas's naval police in the central camps, alongside 2 additional Hamas commanders.
So they just took out Hamas leadership as well. Holy shit.
Yeah, the 2 terrorists operated in recent times to advance terror attacks against IDF troops and were eliminated while traveling armed in a vehicle and posing a threat to IDF troops. Again, we're getting a lot of these that continue to come in, but that kind of speaks to the fact that as you have Israel facing Hezbollah, Israel is also still taking action against Hamas.
Exactly. And let's remind the audience that Hamas...
What a nightmare to live out in the Middle East in general. I mean, just goddamn, bro. The amount of hostility. I mean, it's just it's insane.
Hamas is another proxy for Iran. And so as we see, there actually is another ceasefire.
We already know that they're proxies, homie. You're not telling us anything that we don't already know. All right, we're going to move on. Skydiving plane crash. This happened this morning, actually yesterday. Skydiving plane crash, 11 dead in Francetown. A skydiving plane crash in northeastern France on Sunday, killing all 11 people on board. The region's, well, I guess this is what they're claiming. So let's go ahead and bring this up. 3, 2, 1, bam.
And I do want to take you back to some breaking news that we continue to follow here, coming in out of France. Specifically, this is over in Nancy, where you can see at this point those crews are still on the ground. This image coming in via Reuters at this point, a shaky shot, as of course, photographers are being kept far back, but a lot of different agencies involved after a skydiving plane crashed. And according to officials, all 11 people on board have died as a result. Now, we are getting some new information coming in from officials in that area via Reuters, and I want to pop this up full on your screen to give you a look, as we've learned that 11 people died when that small plane crashed over in northeastern France. Now, this is according to the local leader there. The plane, we're told, belonged to a school for parachuters. The pilot and all 10 passengers, 5 students and 5 instructors died in that crash. The French Interior Minister was on his way to the scene, we're told. We have not seen the French Interior Minister just yet, but if we do, we'll of course let you know. News conferences have been held here. However, there has been no English translation. So we're just kind of getting that information and bringing it to you.
Kind of just waiting for the English version.
As we get it in real time. Now, the regional leader told broadcaster BFM, actually looks like we just lost that shot right there, that it appeared that the aircraft suffered some kind of damage there and then went down vertically. Again, as we get more information coming in from...
Damn. So it took on some sort of damage. It must have maybe hit something or just mechanical failure.
Officials there in France. We will bring that to you on Live Now from Fox in real time. But 11 people...
And of course, that's what our job is here to do. Anything that we present, of course, we're going to do our best to follow the stories, of course. All right. So now we're looking at right now, as of this morning, the updated number regarding the Venezuela earthquakes. Nearly 70,000 people missing as the death toll continues to rise. Obviously, when you have that many missing people, so is your death rate as well.
And welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. The time 10:20 on the East Coast and 7:20 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I do want to get you right back into a big story that we have been following for days now, as once again, we have the latest on these back-to-back powerful earthquakes that struck Venezuela just days ago. Venezuela's government says at least 1,430 people are now confirmed dead after the 7.2 and 7.5 magnitude earthquakes that struck one after the other. Families have also reported that at least 68,900 people are missing as of this weekend. Now, you are taking a live look here as those search and rescue and search and recovery crews are out at the scene where they've been 4 days.
And also, a lot of the world has hopped on board with trying to help in some sort of capacity. I mean, whether that be financial, different types of aid, whether it be, food, water, humanitarian stuff. Then, of course, big equipment, lifting, going through rubble. I mean, and it's crazy because a lot of times, as well as the rescuers end up in these situations needing to be rescued on top of that, because it's very dangerous going through rubble like this, all over throughout Caracas. It's just endless like this.
All of this unfolded using shovels, heavy equipment, ropes, and even their bare hands to dig through concrete and other debris to find any survivors they can. Right now, I do want to bring in Dr. Alex Nicolin, an associate professor of geophysics and department chair there at Binghamton University, to discuss all of this. Doctor, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us.
We don't need to hear much from the doc, but I will get the front monologue because we still got a lot to get through this morning
today and help kind of dissect what happened here.
Good morning, Josh. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. And first off, I want to start by asking you, what do we know about everything that happened there? We're talking 2 very powerful back-to-back earthquakes, more than 7.0 magnitude. We have 7.2 and 7.5.
Yes, indeed, we do. And this is a pretty rare occurrence known as a seismic doublet, where 2 earthquakes essentially occur very close to each other of similar magnitude. So this is not a classical foreshock, main shock, aftershock sequence where there's an order of magnitude drop typically between the foreshock.
Right. It actually got worse. It got even bigger on the second one.
And the main shock and the aftershock. A seismic doublet occurs when there's basically triggering motion of some sort on the plate, which is the first event, followed by a redistribution of stress and a triggering of a second event, which is the most likely scenario that unfolded here. So in essence, you have a very strong earthquake followed by another very strong earthquake. And it's important to understand the magnitude difference here. A 7.1 and a 7.5 are actually considerably different in terms of their size. A 7.5 is actually nearly double in terms of shaking amplitude.
Wow. I swear to God, I didn't know that. Didn't know that. So he's saying the 7.2, because it was 7.2. I don't know why he said 7.1, but it was 7.2 and then a 7.5. That's super interesting that there would be that much more of a difference just in 0.3 at that level, right?
So, because the Richter scale and the seismic moment scale is logarithmic. So these are very, very strong events. And in the context of the first one impacting the region first, the second one has the potential to destroy buildings that have been weakened by the first shock.
Are we past the point right now
All right.
where you could have?
So let's go ahead and get into because we still have an update on Venezuela, so I don't want to ponder on that too much because I like to, if I'm going to ponder, I'm going to do that on the most updated story on it. So anyways, so this coming out last night, 3 major Trump rulings due as Supreme Court terms near end. So because the Supreme Court that's currently what we have right now, those people are about to be no longer, essentially. Their term is up. That's what I'm getting at.
All right. We do want to thank our Fox 5 DC's On the Hill team as we're taking a look ahead to this coming week as the Supreme Court.
And we did have a ruling that happened this morning. I think maybe even 2 out of the 3. So let me go ahead and look that up while this is playing, and I'll give you guys that information if I got
Court is set to rule on birthright citizenship. We were anticipating that ruling to happen potentially last week. That did not happen, and so we look ahead. Meanwhile, though, the Supreme Court on Thursday did hand down 4 decisions including ruling to end the TPS program, the Temporary Protective Services Program, that will end temporarily legal protections for Haitian and Syrian immigrants, and it could extend to other countries. This ruling,
Okay, so let me go ahead and read you guys what I got here, okay? So it says, today, as of June 29th, the U.S. Supreme Court handed down several significant rulings. Here are the biggest ones. Number 1, presidential power over independent agencies. So like being able to put like the Fed chair in or fire him or whatever at Trump's discretion or the president's discretion, I should say. Says the court ruled 6-3, by the way, that President Trump can remove leaders of certain independent federal agencies. Okay, so I'll save the rest of the rhetoric. We'll go into number 2, mail-in ballots after Election Day. Now, this is an interesting one. It went 5-4, okay? And I actually understand the argument on this. And so it's not surprising it was close. The court ruled that states may count mail ballots received after Election Day, so long as they were postmarked by Election Day, upholding laws like Mississippi's 5-day grace period. So that's also a very interesting one because they were trying to say that as soon as Election Day is over, they can't receive any more ballots and count them, which would be bullshit in my opinion as well. Geofence warrants. The court ruled that obtaining Google location history data through a geofence warrant is a search under the Fourth Amendment, but it is not decide. Did not decide whether the warrant in this case was unconstitutional. Instead, it sent the case back to a lower court for additional analysis. Then number 4, boredom asylum case. The court ruled that migrants waiting in Mexico have not, quote unquote, arrived in the United States for purpose of federal asylum law, allowing border patrol to turn them back under the statute at issue. It says impact strengthens the administration's authority at the southern border, narrows who has a statutory right to apply for asylum at the border. So what we're looking ahead for the Supreme Court is expected to release in final opinions of the term tomorrow. These cases include the birthright citizenship. That's what we've been waiting on for like over a week. Campaign finance and state restrictions on transgender athletes. So that's what we're looking at from Supreme Court. Now that you guys know that, we're going to go ahead and get right back into Iran. Regards to U.S. and Iran agreed to halt strikes. We'll meet Tuesday in Qatar. This coming out this morning. So let's go ahead and get the latest update on this.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. The time is 5:56 on the East Coast and 2:56 on the West. Top of the Passage of Hormuz, where you can see things appear to be moving along, but a little less activity than we thought in the coming days. The talks come after days of strikes, which began when Iran launched.
A source familiar with the talks told Reuters on Monday that technical teams from Iran and the United States tasked with working on implementing the memorandum of understanding will meet in Doha in the coming days.
An attack on a ship off the coast of Oman Thursday of last week. The attack led the U.S. military to resume retaliatory strikes.
What's up, Chad with Stacks? My man, good morning. Hopefully you're enjoying the morning as well.
On Iran Friday, calling Iran's actions a violation of the memorandum of understanding signed by both sides, and that was about 2 weeks ago. Again, taking a live look at this hour over the Strait of Hormuz, coming in from marine traffic. Now, President Trump also posted on Truth Social over the weekend, saying in part, quote, "There may come a point when we are no longer able to be reasonable and will be forced to militarily complete the job that we very successfully started. If that happens, the Islamic Republic of Iran will no longer exist," end quote. All right, so as always, we have a lot to discuss, a lot of developments here. Want to bring in Jonathan.
Man, TNT, that's very true. Sorry to hear that.
Saye with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies to help us break it down. Jonathan, as always, thank you so much for being here with us.
Hi, great to be with you again, Josh.
Of course. And
yes, by the way, listen, you guys don't have to like all the craziness that's happening around the world, but you guys can hit the like button, double tap that screen for me and what we're doing here on Insane Wheels. So I thank you guys for that. All right, back to this.
I want to start by talking to you about what we're hearing from Reuters and from U.S. officials, that it appears that the U.S. and Iran are both agreeing to halt those strikes that we've seen going on for days now, and they're going to meet over in Qatar. That's expected to happen tomorrow, or as Reuters says, quote, in the coming days. Does that appear to mean that progress is maybe being made after it appeared that we were possibly back to square one?
It more so signals that the two sides for now decided to maybe postpone hostilities for the sake of maybe assessing whether they can actually reach an agreement. The timing of the attacks come at a very precarious time. On one hand, it was a signal from Tehran to Oman saying that the country by itself is not going to be the only entity administering the Strait of Hormuz. This was Tehran signaling, basically saying that they have...
Oh, by the way, we're well into overtime already. So you know what they say about overtime. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Send in your freaking money. Let's get the money part.
All right, just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Actual factuals. All right, back to this.
To be part of the equation one way or another. It was also a message to the international community, any vessels and maritime traffic as a whole, suggesting that there will be no alternative routes, no matter what part of the strait you choose to cross through. It has to go through Iran's quote-unquote vetting process. And the most important messaging here was to the Trump administration, very clearly sending the sign that by no means is the United States in control of the strait. This is, of course, in advance of the midterms. So, of course, Tehran does not want to give the image that this situation has been resolved by the administration, and also could be seen as a delaying tactic from Tehran. As soon as the talks entered a new avenue with the details and the technical discussion.
Yep, and we see this often. You know, hey, let's go ahead and poke the bear, and then we'll concede on some small things to where we're not going to be launching at each other, and then we'll get back to the quote unquote table. And then as soon as it's almost time to get to the table, it's like, all right, now they're going to do it all over again.
All of a sudden, we saw Tehran derail that conversation to focus on the strait again.
What about Qatar in general? Can you explain for folks out there why Qatar would be chosen? We know that Pakistan has acted.
Oh my God, TNT, that's terrible. I am so fucking sorry to hear that. May you rest in peace. It's terrible.
As a mediator, we have seen Qatar in the past be a mediator as well. So why Doha?
Well, both countries, both Pakistan and Doha, have a similar approach to the Islamic Republic. They're both uniquely positioned in a sense that, on one hand, they're, of course, U.S. allies. They host U.S. personnel to an extent. And parallel to that, they have very close ties with the regime in Tehran. Now, it's debatable whether any country in the Middle East, except from Israel, has actually wanted to pursue regime change in any capacity. But these two countries in particular have been rather friendly with the Islamic Republic. They've been.
Hell yeah. Naomi coming in with the five spot. We always appreciate the 5 spot. Money for Mike's weekly prosthetic polishing. Yes. You know what you use for that? You know, on the right leg, you got to use, you know, your normal sun tanning lotion and all that shit. And then for the left side, I definitely use WD-40. So yeah, very much appreciate the 5 spot. We'll buy some WD-40 with it.
Benefit from its existence.
Not really.
For example, with Qatar, Iran, and Doha continue to fund the same groups. For example, Hamas. At the same time, from the Muslim Brotherhood perspective, which is the ideology in Doha, as long as Israel is occupied with dealing with the regime in Tehran, that gives them a free hand to operate more or less independent from Iranian influence. And I'm thinking mostly in Syria. Of course, as Iran's footprint weakened in Syria, that gave Doha the upper hand to focus more so on other endeavors. And this is one example here where they actually want to keep the regime afloat so they can cause another headache for Israel.
Well, Qatar is an interesting dynamic that we have with them because Qatar truly is actually really an ally, even though with us, but they're really actually like behind the scenes, you know, they're partnered up with Iran. And the best way to get them at the table is if you can get Iran's friends to get them to go to the table. And that's what Qatar is for us, which is interesting. Anyways, I want to move ahead a little bit here. It says here on an update.
Iran's president says $6 billion of Iranian assets in Qatar to be released after.
It's talking about the some frozen funds. It says Iran's president says $6 billion of Iranian assets that were frozen in Qatar to be released after signing agreement with the U.S. lifting oil sanctions, says Iran state media.
Signing agreement with the U.S. lifting oil sanctions. That's according to Iranian state media. First of all, what do you make of that overall? But also, likely any truth to that as we're hearing it from Iran's president?
We have to see whether, if true, it would be in increments or the whole $6 billion would be unfrozen at once. To look at it a bit pessimistically, the first waiver that was issued by the United States, and I think it's valid until the end of August, not only allows Iran to sell oil, but also allows transactions to be made with Iran's central bank. That would be the same entity in theory that would actually get the $6 billion. So the sanction waiver is in place for this to happen. Now, the challenge here is Tehran has not held up its end of the bargain. The administration was rather clear that it would be a tit-for-tat process. It would be more or less a diplomatic dance. Both sides need to provide concessions, and all the regime had to do was keep this.
Yeah, and both sides are not going to be willing to give concessions. All right, let's see what Iran media over here is saying. Let me go ahead and bring this. This is Iranian Intel English. Hold on, let me so they can read it.
From Iran International English. It's kind of lengthy, but overall the gist of it is that the Iranian Supreme Leader's representative at the Kayhan newspaper wrote that Iran's first demand in negotiation should be the handover of U.S. President Donald Trump for trial in Iranian courts. Why even make a statement like that? There's no question that that's obviously not going to happen.
Of course not. It's more or less a signal saying that by no means we're at peace. It is a direct, I think it's more or less appeasing also the hardline base of the Islamic Republic, suggesting that just because we are negotiating with this administration does not mean we are seeking alternative routes. And that's very implicit, but explicitly, they've made that threat very clear before when they tried to assassinate the president more than once. Now we know.
Right. Sure. Let's go ahead and get into this. IDF struck in response to ceasefire violations 3 Hezbollah command centers in the area of Napadeh, I don't know if I'm saying it right, and Mayfadawn in southern Lebanon. Additionally, troops struck and dismantled a launcher that Hezbollah continued using to attack them. Actually, I saw the video of them blowing up the latest Hezbollah launchers, and it was actually pretty brutal. Let me see here. It's this right here. I'm surprised that they even found it.
Now, that all came with this video right here that I'm going to show on your screen in just a second. Again, coming in from the IDF. What is the current situation and how does that, and you and I have discussed this numerous times, but how does all of this that you're seeing there factor into what we're watching develop between the U.S. and Iran?
You saw a clear signal from Hezbollah operatives when they took over the streets a few days ago, rejecting any ceasefire deal with Israel to begin with. Very similar rhetoric that you see from officials in Tehran. They've never been this aligned on rejecting any ceasefire or truce deal. That, again...
All right. Let's see if there's anything else here in this for like breaking, developments. No, there is not. All right, we got a couple more to get through here. We got a deadly alligator attack that happened over there in Florida. Let's go ahead and bring this up and see what the fuck is going on here. 3, 2, 1, bam.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, 7:15 on the East Coast and 4:15 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I'll be here for the next several hours as we break down all of your top stories and live events from across the country and the world. Now, we always check in with our Fox affiliates across the country for a look at the stories that they're covering. And right now, I want to head over to Central Florida. That's where a woman is dead after an alligator attack as she swam in a river in Seminole County, that's outside of Orlando.
Terrible.
And this is the third reported alligator attack in Florida over just the last week, the others involving a child and a snorkeler. I want to bring in Amanda Ruiz over at our Fox 35 Orlando team. She is on the ground following all of the latest details. And Amanda, a very tragic story here.
Good morning, Josh. That is correct. And people who live around this area, they tell me that they are extremely heartbroken to hear the details of this incident. But let me tell you.
That's right, GEG. Good morning to you.
Honestly, they say they're not surprised to hear that an alligator was involved in this case because they say when they go around this trail, they always see them around. Now, according to authorities, they say a 31-year-old woman was swimming in the river near this trail with her friends on Sunday, and that's when she was attacked.
She was my age.
By the gator. She was then rushed to the hospital, but she later died. FWC says serious alligator attacks are rare, and crews are now working to trap that gator. The people who frequent the area say they've seen gators all the time here.
It's not the gator's fault.
Before, and they are saddened for the victim's family.
Just, I mean, it's really a bummer situation
for her and like her family too.
Of course,
I couldn't imagine that happening to my mom or my sisters.
When they get that thing out of here, I like nature and stuff, but once it starts attacking people, that crosses the line for me.
Yeah, but. Dude,
now the FWC.
It wasn't like she was on land and she was like sleeping on the grass or some shit. She went swimming inside their territory. I mean, give me a break.
He says that they are still investigating this case. We're still working to learn who the woman was, what her name was. Once we get that information, we'll keep you updated. But for now,
I'm sure that we're going to get that update as well. All right, let's get into this last thing here. Nearly 1,500 people dead in this Venezuela earthquake. This is the latest that we've got on the numbers regarding Venezuela and the double earthquake that happened. Let's go and see what's happening here.
Live now from Fox, the time 7:58 on the East Coast and 4:58 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I'll be here on this Monday for the next couple hours to bring you all of your top stories and live events from across the country and the world. And there on the right-hand side of your screen, you are taking a live look over Caracas in Venezuela as we continue to cover everything related to the situation with those back-to-back major earthquakes that caused significant damage. Sadly, we of course know that that death toll continues to rise, and according to officials,
well, it's going to rise, especially when you have 70,000 people missing. When you have that amount of people missing, it's very hard to get that number not to ever correlate, because it always correlates to the rising death toll. I would say probably a majority of them are not just missing, but they're deceased at this point.
It will continue to do so. Do want to take this full to give you a better look here as we have those search and rescue crews that are here, not just from that area, but from all over at this point. The death toll approaching 1,500, with the Venezuelan government expecting the number to rise in the coming days.
You be safe out there, Brother Steve. We'll see you on the flip side.
And at last check, more than 50,000 people are still believed to be missing.
Dude, gator bites? Ooh, man. I didn't know about that shit until I moved to the South. I'm going to be honest. First time I alligator when I moved here. So man, there's a couple of places near me. Man, they do some crazy alligator bites.
Though some reports indicate that number could actually be around 70,000. Search and rescue crews working to find any victims that are underneath rubble, like you see right there on your screen. We also know that Venezuelans could be seen searching for their loved ones, their neighbors there. They were using shovels, heavy equipment, ropes, and even their bare hands to dig through concrete and other debris. Dr. Eric Jacques is an associate professor in civil and environmental engineering at Virginia Tech, joining us now to talk much more about all of this here. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Yeah. I am interested on his front monologue. We're not going to play this whole thing, but I am interested in the front monologue.
Thank you. Of course. And first off, I want to start by talking to you about the damage that we...
I don't know if they have much of any codes over there, Texas Gidget. You know, I don't think that they have much of that.
You see left behind here on the left-hand side of your screen, you're talking about these massive piles of concrete, buildings coming down very quickly there. What kind of led to all of that when you talk about these back-to-back earthquakes and the fact that you have this extensive damage?
Yeah, no, this tragedy, I think, is textbook in things that could go wrong in seismic engineering.
Yes.
You know, it's a terrible event. First one, you have 2 earthquakes back to back, both fairly large, magnitude 7. Any one of those alone, you know, would push a lot of structures to their limit. But what happens is you have a structure that's subjected to a very large earthquake, and you know, even before it has a chance to come to rest, there's a second earthquake that strikes an already damaged target. And so that's
Right.
something that we don't design for. We typically design for you know, return period of 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 2,500 years for a single seismic event. Here you have 2 back to back, so it's an extreme loading scenario. The second factor that led to this extreme damage and loss of life has to do with some of the site conditions that exacerbate the earthquake ground motions. Particularly near the coast. Those coastal regions in Venezuela are known for having fairly soft soils. Those soft soils tend to amplify what taller buildings see.
When you don't have a good foundation, man. I mean, yeah, he's
So those
right.
taller structures then are more likely to collapse.
What's up, Dragon Classy? Good morning to you.
Because they experience an even larger shaking effect due to the presence of the very soft soil. And so what you end up with is you have these dual earthquakes back to back that are exacerbated by some of the site conditions. And then the third factor has to do with the local construction itself in Venezuela. And so many buildings in Venezuela are what's known as non-ductal.
And see, in this report, they're showing 50,000 missing. So there's 2 different conflicting numbers that are being shown. One being 68,200 or something like that, and then this number being 50,000.
Reinforced concrete structures, so they're concrete frames. You can see some in the background there. You know, columns that are made of concrete and flat slabs and whatnot.
Well, maybe they did that just. Oh, I see the plus right here, 50,000 plus. So,
and then they have infill masonry walls. So the partitions and the cladding are these fairly rigid brick or masonry walls. And what you end up with is a structure that's very stiff initially during the beginnings of an earthquake. And that's actually not really a good thing in seismic design because it attracts more forces, more earthquake forces.
yeah, this is just a terrible, terrible situation all the way around. I mean, that's fucked. I definitely am praying for him, man. Listen, again, I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough for allowing me to do this Monday through Friday. And of course, members only on Saturday morning. So listen, we'll be back here tomorrow morning for more of the world's madness. Until then, make sure you guys hit that like button on the way out. Double tap that screen as well. Always appreciate you guys. Listen, we'll be back here tomorrow morning. Nothing but love and respect to everybody. And God bless everyone. Be safe out there.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire.